The Lions all but book a home final after dismantling Collingwood at Marvel, where Devon Robertson broke the internet with his rig carved from marble. After 1,000 different tries, Dimma's found a sunnier way to cook his snags, while the Giants look September-bound after Jesse Hogan's biggest bag. The Pies need a win desperately, the Colemans going to Charlie, and not for the first time, the Crows were robbed right in front of me. Right in front of me to cast our eyes over the final home and away round of 2023. This is Triple M Footy's midweek rub with the consigliere of the St Kilda Mafia, Lee Montagna.
Hello, Rabsy. How are you feeling about the Pies?
No, I'm very nervous. I wasn't happy Friday night. The definition of shredding for the wedding, Daisy Thomas.
Yes, I am here. And well done. That was another great intro.
Thank you, mate. And the czar of AFL.com.au is here as well, Damien Barrett.
Like the reference to Damien Hardwick, Rabsy, who was burnt out, couldn't face looking at a football, let alone coaching a footy team, and then 90 days later, 6-year
He's
deal,
back.
A couple of million a season.
It's amazing
Shiny
what a
new
flight
toys.
to Italy can
Yeah,
fix.
that's right. A couple of shiny new toys, as he likes to put it. Just on that, do you think our coaches should be rotating around clubs a bit more often? Like, he's now got all his messaging, all these 1,000 sausages that he's can't use anymore. He can now go to a fresh group and just rehash the same old stuff that they haven't heard, and they'll be hanging off every word that he says. It's a bit like the high performance guys, Daisy, the fitness guys. All they do is take the same program and move from club to club and don't actually do anything for about 15 years. Burjo's probably taken the same program to 3 different teams. Do you think coaches should be looking to rotate a little bit more if they're career coaches? Like, imagine if Chris Scott went to the Bulldogs. Or, you move around.
Do you think the Bulldogs need a new coach? Is that where you're going?
Yeah, is that what you're saying? There's something romantic and nostalgic about the long-term coach,
We're
though,
too
isn't
loyal,
there?
aren't we?
We are. But I think what clubs get and glean, if you've got a good one, you don't want to lose him because there's no guarantee you'll get another good one.
Yeah, but that's the problem.
And that's the danger.
But a good one can eventually, their message run dry. Look at Adam Simpson. Look at maybe Luke Beveridge. Chris Scott maybe is at a point now where they're like, you could take all your IP, Daisy, and just go to another club.
Oh,
Wouldn't it work?
I like what you're asking.
Yeah,
it's a good debate.
It's a good point. Hey,
But we're a conservative industry, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
We are so conservative. We'd rather recontract a struggling coach to put our chest out and say, look at us, we're supporting our man, than make the tough call and move that person on who could also equally go and find a new job. Because it used to happen a lot, didn't it? Like sometimes they'd get 2, 3, 4 years, but they'd pick up a job straight away, as opposed to now your papers are stamped and you're lucky to get back in the system. It took Michael Voss 10 years to get back
Other
in.
sports, they do it all the time, don't they? And NBA, NFL, they just rotate around, go to different teams. And interesting.
We do need to put an official apology out.
Oh,
we need to be accountable for
What's
our
Damo
actions.
done this time?
We're not good at that at Triple M.
Damo, what have you done this time?
But every now and then you make a monumental stuff up and you have to put your hand up and say, this is on us.
I think I know where you're going, and I agree with you. We should.
Well, let's have a listen to this first.
The Western Bulldogs versus West Coast.
Yeah, this will be a close one. I
Where's
was
it
right.
at? Spot on.
It's in Melbourne.
in
Marvel,
Melbourne.
Sunday,
Yeah,
110.
Marvel.
Dogs will win this by
If it was in Perth, would that change your tip?
margin.
Yeah.
70. Let's go close to the pin margin. Let's have a go. I'll go 73
The
points.
line's 62.5.
I'll go 73.
91.
105.
We'll play that on next week, Rabsy. Just a little bit off. My gosh.
Only 15 goals off.
Seriously.
This is my favourite thing about our sport. So the West Coast Eagles win against all odds, and everyone in Perth now is going, why did you win? Why did you win? You've cost us the number 1 pick. This is horseradish. Why would you go and do that so late in the season? Incredible. 105 points, I thought.
And equally, Adam Simpson gets bagged 3 weeks ago when he doesn't flood to save the game against Essendon, and they get a goal out the back, and then he gets criticised this week for trying to save the game when they were 2.5 goals up.
We have some quirks in our game, don't we?
Yeah.
Has that bought him some time?
I doubt it. I doubt it because of the high-end nature of the conversations they had. It shouldn't, should they? I mean,
No, of course it
one
shouldn't.
result
One result
should.
should.
I mean, and I hope for his sake it does, but because he's a good coach. But I don't think you go through all the rigmarole of having these meetings. They've now had twice in Melbourne inside 8 weeks, and the fanfare and wanting to be seen on camera about travelling back to, I don't know, I didn't like what they did with all of that. And they always had the intent, the way I read it, Days, was to get through regardless till round 24, then have the proper thrashed out conversation. The loss to Fremantle brought forward some of the pointy end nature of that conversation. I feel whatever they're going to release next Monday will be the same as it was regardless of result.
Plenty of news kicking about Damo, including some retirements, some tribunal, and, of course, the Cats putting in some big names for some surgeries. This is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Fair Dinkum or Fugazi, and your round 24 predictions still to come. But let's get some news from you, Damo, starting down at GMHBA Stadium with some injured Cats.
Yeah, Cats season dead, as we knew as a result of losing in round 23. Cannot make finals. So they've basically now taken the smart, long-term, big-picture view to get some players into surgery right now. Jeremy Cameron being the main one, and he's been playing sore since the Gary Rowan hit. It was a concussion that kept him out of that game and the one after it, but it was a shoulder that was the problem thereafter. That will be operated on. Already surgery for Rowan and Blitzarves. Hawkins, by all reports, will not play as a result of aggravating his hamstring again. Even a question mark whether he plays again full stop. We'll touch on that in a moment. Radicalea probably not playing, and Brad Close likely to come out. Might be one or two more. They've got the Dogs, who are going to, weirdly enough, start favourite at the Cattery in a game they obviously must win to make finals. You throw up the word integrity because...
Is this a form of tanking, Damo?
Well, we've got a 23-match season over 24 weeks. The Geelong Footy Club has, and I don't hold it against them, Joey, but they have checked out.
Yep, and look...
Doesn't mean they won't try and win the game.
No, of course not. I'm okay with it. They've got to think about next season. There's nothing to gain out of this year. Those guys have played a lot of footy over a long period of time, so an opportunity to see some kids, and I think in the end it's maybe explained a bit of Geelong's sort of second half of the season. Some older players banged up was always going to be too hard.
What a result for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, that's a gift, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the hardest, or one of the hardest trips in footy down to GMHBA. If you come up against a fully fit Cats side, they won't be doing that. And now, effectively, they should keep their season alive still somehow.
Yeah, and then rely on the other result, the GWS game
They'll be
against...
cheering for the Blues to beat the Giants.
Yes.
Funnily enough, that last year they were cheering for the Pies to beat the Blues.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And just with Hawkins, there is a decision to be made about his future. He came back for that game last week, having missed, I think, 1 week only with the hamstring. It's very rare for him to come back 1 week only after that happening and then not to have a problem. So that's where he's at now. And there is a decision to be made. Now, whether there's an announcement between now and round the game on Saturday or whether it drags on, or whether he just commits to playing and the club says that, but it's yet to be made 100% official.
Yeah, I think it's a fair way down the track, though, that he will sign.
That was that indication, but yet to be signed off.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I think they've got to wait till just the end of the season, have a look what their list looks like and what other decisions are made with some veterans or delistings, but I'm sure that he'll play one more season. He sounds very keen. He even, I think, was on record as saying he doesn't necessarily think next year could be his last. He sort of thinks that why not keep going? So I'm pretty sure he will play.
What do we normally don't on this show anyway talk too deeply about the match review office and tribunal outcomes, but I just wanted to flag this one today with the Tom McCartan result last night at the tribunal. He was sent there, he took it there after he was given a 2-week ban for his clash with Shane McAdam, a fractured face of sorts as a result of the contact. McCartan argued via his legal personnel at the tribunal that it was not as serious as that and been cleared to play. To me, just before I throw it to you guys, who are the experts in this space, if you only got 2 or 3 weeks, I would have thought that was more in keeping with what we've seen this year as a conditioning for such moments and matters and incidents, as opposed to getting off scot-free.
Yeah, well, I'm fully behind the players, and I think everyone should get off. But in this instance, how do they be taken seriously, the MRO and then the tribunal, if you're going to clear a bloke who's fractured a cheek? So if that's direct from the collision, which we think it is, and that's what the medical report says, it's not in keeping with what they've done throughout the season. So therefore, you get more confusion going forward. Well,
I suppose there is still that tiny element of choosing to bump versus bracing when there's contact coming. And I think that was the argument, was that the way the ball bounced in the turn, it was just accidental contact. Tom McCartan didn't try and bump him. That's the only way I think that he was able to get off on that. Because we do understand, Daisy, there is difference between choosing to bump and just bracing when there is inevitable contact. So I think it's a fine line.
Earlier in the season, there was a Freo player down in Launceston. Ran over the ball because he couldn't. Griffin Loeb? No, he's at North.
Yeah, it was in the North. It was Griffin Loeb.
Was it like? Yeah, he couldn't pick the ball up. Yeah. Ran over it. Collision occurs, and he got 2 weeks or at least a week. So.
And then, again, we've never spoken about a VFL tribunal outcome, but because Tyler Sonzi managed to get he's a Richmond player, hit a North Melbourne player in the VFL on the weekend, got his sanction reduced from 5 to 3, just a complete off-the-ball hit, round arm to the jaw region. The gradings became lesser. He's got 3 weeks. So I don't know what... I know it's a different system. It's the VFL system, but it still operates under the AFL arches. And I don't know what that message sent either, by reducing that.
Yeah, that was a surprise. That looked like a clear 5 weeks. It was an intentional punch to the face off the ball. So I'm not sure. It's a different tribunal system, clearly, isn't it? So, I mean... It's hard to argue.
But it still is the responsibility of the AFL.
Yeah, the AFL.
They do
Can
report.
could they choose to appeal that
yeah,
decision?
they can. I mean, I always take the view that each sporting code can do whatever it wants to do, but the AFL can use its own rules, and the VFL can as well. I'd like them to on that one because
I think if it was more high profile, they probably would.
Yeah, I reckon they might have. Yeah. What do we make of what the AFL may do between now and close of play this year as a result of the shambles that was the goal line incident, the Ben Keys non-goal last week, allowing the Swans to win that game of footy? I ask it because discussions have been widespread this week involving clubs and at least input from senior football people about the need now to review every single score, not just the contentious ones, but every single score, and to slow the play down to the point where you've got, now they've put up an arbitrary 8 seconds of deliberation. I'd be staggered if this system was able to accommodate the need to review every score inside 8 seconds. But it does then negate the Steve Hocking plan to allow the defending team to pick up the ball straight away and just clear it.
Why don't the umpires, who there are now 4 field umpires, be given the right of the whistle to blow and say, hang on a minute, we'll review that? So clearly on the weekend, that would have been the case. Somebody would have seen the Adelaide players going berserk and they thought they'd kick the goal. Then the Swans brought it in quite quickly, smart by Jake Lloyd. Why don't they be given the power to be another set of eyes, another ruling body? Because you don't want it happening every time. The 8 seconds will frustrate clubs. The whole reason that came in was so we could
And this,
move
just before I go any
on.
further, it's not mandated, and there'll be a statement of sorts whether they agree to change it or not change it, but it is a discussion point to this point of this week.
For the rest of this year?
Well,
I don't think they can change too much for the rest of this year.
For this year. I think it's something
All
for
they
next
might
year.
say to the goal umpires is just remember, if it's close, particularly if it's late in the game or if it's contentious, refer it. Just a reminder to the goal umpires. But I think next year they need to look at how they can do it better. I'm an advocate for any close, contentious decision. I'm okay. I'm still the view they should let the players play on. And if the ARC looks at it and says, no, we've reviewed it and seen that that's a goal, blow the whistle.
Yes.
And then call it back.
But Joey,
we do that for a goal. We do that for a goal. If
We've
it goes to the
sometimes
centre.
seen that process take 2 or 3 minutes. That may be an extreme.
Yeah, that's an extreme.
Okay, let's go with 90 seconds, though. Given what was at stake
Would you
with
rather
that
have
goal.
the correct score or would you rather have
But that
90
game's finished by that stage. There was only 70 seconds
that
left.
okay, so
and that's what I'm saying. So by the time that you're prepared to overturn that, the game would have actually blown the siren and finished.
Yes, and then you put the time back on the clock. You put the time back, like other sports. You just put the
NBA.
time back, and you just reset. The centre bounce goes. There was a minute 11 when that happened in the game.
Yep.
If they took 45 seconds to see that it was a goal, they blow the whistle. Next boundary throw in, they say that's a goal. Minute 11 goes back on the clock and you ball it up because that's fair.
Is this going to be the best thing?
Why is that? What's wrong with that?
Well, you might have a goal of the year or mark of the year or
so-
another goal.
Again,
Or the goals? Hang on, but you're then negating goals that are actually in play.
Yeah, but what's not a goal? Because the other one was a goal.
I hear what you're saying. It would have been easy if the siren sounded at the very point in time, and they would have done what they did
Other
with your
sports
game.
do it. Rugby league do it. Hockey, ice hockey, soccer now with the VAR. They let them play, then they go back and review it.
Yeah, but soccer, there's no scores.
Will this force the AFL, though, to invest in the technology? Is there something like this is a monumental screw up of the highest
You'd
order?
hope so, wouldn't you? But again, this one wasn't a technology issue. This one was a failure of a human being to refer it to the technology.
Surely, if they have the technology, though, that can be as instantaneous as a decision made by an umpire.
It's very, very expensive because you need to do that at every venue that they play footy at. You can't just have it at some venues and
We
not
have
all
a
of
lot
them.
of money.
That's
The AFL has a lot of dollars.
a lot.
The game also goes very long, and that would just add more time
more
to the
time.
That's the
quarters.
issue, isn't
So
it?
that's the other problem.
Yeah.
If you do it the other way, where you let the ARC do it while you play, you're not stopping and everyone waiting. You just continue to play and then let them do it while it's playing. Because, 4 out of 5 decisions are actually correct. When they call for review, what the umpire went with is right.
Correct or not changed?
Not changed.
Yeah.
So only 1 out of every
There's a
5
difference.
gets changed.
How do you know that?
How do you get stats in
How
the
do you get
war room
stats
about
on the
Because we do our research. 4 out of 5, what the umpire goes with stands.
Just quickly, a lot of retirements this week, Damo, including Tom Jonas, the captain of Port
Yeah,
Adelaide.
just wanted to flag here. There's other players, and there's now been a lot this year, and there might even be a few more between now and the weekend. But I love the way he's carried himself, Rabsy, and even yesterday when he didn't make that announcement, it was done to take away the distraction because there's every chance he won't be playing in the first final when Trent McKenzie is again fit, and that's the reason he's been playing the past 3 weeks. And even his words yesterday, how he'd rather be playing. Now, you take him at his word because he's a great leader. He'd rather be not playing for a team that's got a premiership crack than playing for one that will fall short. And that just sums up his attitude. I think it sums up the Port whole belief this year, and it just says a lot about that man.
And again, I think it's an exact reason why clubs should err on the side of giving veterans one more year, because it's like Tom Jonas or Phil Davis or other players. You don't have to play them if they're on your list, but they are still valuable to your football club. They're handy backups if you do need to
If
play.
McKenzie goes down,
if you do need to play them. But what they add, when they've got 45 spots on the list, and we know, Daisy, they put blokes on lists that are never likely to play some games of footy, these guys are worth it. So I appreciate the way that he's gone about it, and I think other clubs like Adelaide are going to do it with Rory Sloane and some others. Stick them on your list for one more year. It's better to err that way.
Have we had more retirements this season than any other?
Feels like a lot.
It feels like they're being announced
too.
You got the stats on that, Joey?
Well, there's a team. I've seen a team of retirements, so there's at least 23, 24. And congratulations to Tom Hickey and Josh Bruce, two former teammates of mine. Good mates as well. They've been wonderful contributors.
Get your predictions for the final home and away round soon. But up next, it is Fair Dinkum or Fugazi on Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub at Joey, Daisy and Damo. Round 24 predictions still to come, of course, kicking off with Essendon versus Collingwood from the MCG on Friday night.
Now on the Midweek Rub, it's Fugazi, it's a wazi, it's a woozy, it's a...
I'm going to start with you, Damo. The Suns relentlessly pursuing Dimma is the best decision they've ever made.
I'll go with fair income, Rabsy. I just want to give that a little bit of thought before I just rattled out with what my answer was. They're a mess, the club, but they've been in their 13 years, have never won more than 10 matches in a season, and they're not going to be going beyond that number this year, regardless of result in the coming closure of the 2023 home and away season. But Dimma going there. There's an element of Ron Barassi going to Sydney in this. There's certainly an element of Lee Matthews going to Brisbane when he did in 1999. As it was. So, yeah, I will say fair income.
Sticking with you, Dimma probably owes his premiership teammate Stewie Dew at least a phone call.
That is also fair dinkum, and he might want to also just say sorry to Taranto and Hopper, who he helped woo across for a big, bright future. They were his exciting toys. They were his brand new shiny toys for this time last year, and now he's got a whole bunch of 45 who are more shiny.
43, Brandon Allison, Marbiol Chul that he gave the flick from the Tigs.
Well,
Be a couple of nervous boys.
Pontius Pilate, Damo. Essendon and the Bulldogs, I should say, losing buries the wild card round idea, Joey.
No, that's Fugazi. I still think the wild card weekend would make for an exciting round of footy if they all had to play each other. If Essendon, Sydney and the Bulldogs Giants had to play off to finish 7th and 8th, I like it still.
Come on, Joey, let it go, mate.
Why?
Essendon lost by 126 points. They don't deserve to be alive.
Oh.
There we go.
Joey, Brisbane could win the flag but have no players in the All-Australian team.
Ooh. It's fair income because it'd be close. Like Charlie Cameron should be close, not a certainty. Lockie Neal will be close, but not a certainty.
Joe Danaher, Joe?
Harris Andrews will be very close, not a certainty. Joe Danaher will be in the squad. So they'll probably have 4 to 5 players in the squad without having anyone at an absolute lock. So I think that's fair income, but I think they end up getting someone in there.
Yep.
Good call.
Damo, the Saints could make a prelim.
It's fair income. I've been one of those people who needed more convincing, and here we get to round 24 and they're already a lock in there, and they've been the only team, or I think it's the only one of only 2 teams to stay, them and Collingwood for the entire season, which says something in itself. They've had their rough patches and their rough trots, but they've endured them and seen it out. I love what they did against Geelong last week. I thought there was an element of real attacking flair that I hadn't noticed till that point, so who's to say? You'd never, ever rule out Ross Lyon, so fair income.
Daisy, Jesse Hogan's performance has gone under the radar as one of the best key forward games of the year.
No, that's Fugazi. It's up there with some of the big bags of 10 and 9 that we've seen as well. But I think we've certainly given the credit because I don't think a lot of us genuinely thought that he had that capability to go on and kick such a big bag. I think if you sort of thought 5 or 6 goals, you'd cop that. But 9 goals is an enormous effort. And yes, well done to he.
I'll go one step further. It's the best performance of the year by any player. I don't think
any player.
Any player this year to kick 9 goals, 17 marks, 16 score involved. You tell me one player that's had a better game.
Charlie Kerner was pretty good with 5 on the weekend as well, and he kicked 10.
Yeah, that was a good performance. It wasn't as good as Hogan's. He kicked 10 against West Coast.
I'd say he single-handedly got him back from 40 points down.
Yeah, no, I think it's the best performance of the year.
Tex in his milestone game.
Yeah, kicked 10. Hogan's kicked 9, and he's taken as many marks as he did. And none of his goals were like Joe the Goose's. When you watch that game, he was taking pack marks and running blokes ragged. I thought it was huge.
One of Sicily's games against Brisbane, probably more so than St Kilda too, might be in that conversation potentially.
Damo, the Dogs' late season form could cost Marcus Bontempelli a Brownlow again.
That's also fair dinkum because it happened in 2021 when they fell away late, and even Luke Beveridge has been on record this year saying that was the reason it was cost. He got 33 votes that year. Ollie Wines got 36. He might scrounge a 2-voter out of last week's debacle against West Coast, though. I mean, it wouldn't be 3, I wouldn't have thought, but he was good.
32
he was good.
and a goal?
Yeah, it was 32 and a goal. So he might still scrounge a vote, but losing to Hawthorn the previous week and unknown about this week, it's up to him still.
He had 33 votes in 2021, didn't poll the last 3 games and cost him. He might need to poll votes, you think, this week to win it. So maybe it gets that luck the other way. Polls best on ground, final game of the year. And as I said,
he might get 1 or 2 from the week just gone, despite the loss.
He should poll, yeah.
Joey, Brad Scott owes the Adelaide goal umpire and Luke Beveridge some beers for taking the heat off Essendon this week.
Fair income. Good one, absolutely. Yeah, that was a horrible performance by the Bombers. Not sure where that leaves them for next year. So, he's happy there's been bigger issues.
Sticking with that Sydney-Adelaide game, Daisy, you know this man very well. If the Adelaide goal review controversy had happened to Collingwood in 2011, Eddie Maguire would have taken the matter to the Supreme Court and then the UN if it meant the finals didn't start until October.
I would happily say fair income around that. And I think Eddie would put his hand up and say the same thing. The uproar that would come from it, obviously, Adelaide have taken it pretty much laying down, I feel. They haven't caused too much of a stir, but I think it was one of the bigger clubs and somebody who was happy to just be the front man for it and go out and lead 100,000, like I said, up to AFL House. I think the Pies would be your side.
Sticking with you, Daisy, Dev Robertson has a future in modelling if footy doesn't work out.
100%. What about the rig that the boys
You'd love
put
this
together?
behaviour, wouldn't you?
I couldn't be more for it. And as someone who never really got around with the greatest rig when they played, a little bit skinny, a little bit too top heavy, I couldn't have been happier with the way that he got tackled, the jumper rips, and then he just rips it off and continued to play. It was like old school shirts v no shirts back in the primary school days.
Joey, wherever Brody Grundy ends up next year, he should tell the coaching staff he's not going anywhere near the forward 50.
Yeah, that's fair dinkum. Wherever he goes next year, he'll be playing number 1 ruck. He can take that to the bank.
Where will that be, Joey?
It'll be...
You think it won't be Melbourne?
No, it won't be Melbourne.
No, it won't be Melbourne.
100%.
He's out.
Yeah.
He's out. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think it's fair. I think Melbourne owe it to him. It's okay. They tried something, it didn't work. I think we're mature enough to say, look, we'll help you, get to your next destination. We're not going to hold your ransom and ask for a first round pick and some stuff. They'll make it. And I think it'll be probably Port Adelaide or Sydney. Yep. I think Sydney. I've got a feeling Sydney will go all in for Brody Grundy and Ben Mackay and have a real crack at trying to win a flag in the next couple of years.
Right. 2 more quick ones. Damo, we've seen this man twice now this year. Bob East is the most Gold Coast looking businessman ever.
Yeah, the Jeff Thompson lookalike from the 70s. I love his get-up. I love the way he's always got the extra button undone too, and the hair's just out of the surf. I love it. Yep.
His chest puffs now too. He's happy with what he's got.
Very happy. Yep, job's done.
All right, finally to you two, Joey and Daisy. We've seen a lot of retirements over the last fortnight. The last word you want to be described as when you retire is journeyman.
Journeyman, stalwart, one of those words. That's probably fair.
Journeyman's 3 or more.
Yeah.
Are we happy for that as a genuine rule?
Who's Tom Hickey? Journeyman?
He's been
And,
a 4.
I
He's played in
think
4
poor old,
states.
Poor old Segsy got the journeyman yesterday as well.
Brucey's been to 3 clubs too. There's a few
actually,
journeymans in there.
Well, there's one more round left of the home and away season. Kicks off Collingwood versus Essendon on Friday night. Get your predictions next on the Midweek Rub. The final home and away round of 2023 is now upon us, and it kicks off on Friday night. Essendon versus Collingwood. Joey, can the Pies win one before the finals start?
Well, I'd like to think so. It's turned into a bit of a fizzer, this game, hasn't it? There's not a whole heap of interest in it. Collingwood, could finish second, but it doesn't really matter. They'll finish on top. Essendon, how do they respond? I think the Pies need to just find some form. So they should be working on their best style of footy. They'll be missing a few, but I think they win. Yep.
Yeah, back on the winners list for me, the Pies.
I think they'll be winning. I am interested to see what Essendon dish up, though. There has to be some sort of response. There'll be blokes playing for careers there after last week.
That's a big call, Montagna.
Well, I think it will be. I think anyone who may have been on the fringe who put in an absolute insipid one, Brad's got to go, hang
You'd
on
like
a minute.
to think so, wouldn't you? You don't want them to come out and just roll out again,
Yeah.
knowing they can't play finals and put in another poor performance.
Hawthorn versus Fremantle at the MCG. That's the Saturday rub game.
Hawthorn's form
I like the
stacks
Hawks.
right up. I'm
Yeah.
going to tip Fremantle, but only because I think they've also got their mojo back, but it's happened way too late. So Dockers for me, but line ball really.
Dockers for me, yeah, same reasons. And I think if Hawthorn do provide something, I think we'll look at them completely different going into next season.
Took some of Melbourne's best effort to start to sort of compete with Hawthorn for big parts of that game. In the end, they just had a bit too much class. So I think the Hawks can finish on a positive note.
Damo, North Melbourne versus Gold Coast down in Hobart. And your Roos get a win.
Even if they were clever enough to try and throw it, they wouldn't have a chance of winning anyway. So, no, there'll be 21st loss in a row, having won the first two this year. And it'll be the confirmation of a third wooden spoon. Well done.
There is no incentive for North to win this game. Do you agree on that?
Yeah, but they're not good enough to even think they could anyway.
What about for the players? Do the players care about Harley Reid or someone else, or do they just want to win?
I think you'd be happy just for this final siren to go and you start worrying about Mad Monday.
Pack their jeans.
Yeah, take a
Wouldn't
disco
you? I mean,
kit.
if you're an
the
Eddie
jeans.
Ford who hasn't played in a win, if you're Ben Mackay who may be leaving anyway, but has only had 7 wins out of 69 games and only 1 in his last 37.
As a North Melbourne fan, would you like them to win this week or
You know,
lose?
seriously, and I'm not saying this for a rise. I would rather them win because it would actually show that they've actually got some steel and some metal that they just do not have. And I think they've got slipped way too easily into mediocrity. And now they'll sort of, pat themselves on the back and get some form of cushioning out of, again, getting the first pick in the draft. So, and I say that not to just be provocative. I honestly
can
believe,
tell the
and that's why I
seriousness in your
like what
voice.
West Coast did last week. Bugger the
was just a
first round
question.
pick.
It was
No,
just
but
a question.
this whole sort of playing to get the first pick, it just annoys me.
That's fine. I think that they have no right in wanting to win.
They've been mediocre for 3 years, 1 more week. Actually, they might as well just be
You can
mediocre
cop it and then get some-
Worry about it next year.
Let's roll it into next year as well, and let's finish
they
last
can
again.
start fresh next year,
Oh,
Damo.
yeah.
Some
Like we started
positivity.
fresh this year and the year before and the year before.
Harley Reid starting inside 50, Sheasel and Wardlaw. They'll be
You know, it was
next,
second last before the 3
next
in a row.
year's their year, Damo.
You know, they were second last before they won 3
Next
wooden
year's
spoons.
their year.
Do they fly straight home to Coolangatta and Melbourne, or they go out in Hobart, these teams?
Stay the night in Hobart. Yeah. Oh, no?
Brisbane versus St Kilda at the Gabba. Huge game.
Huge game. Great challenge to see where St Kilda are at, how close they actually are to compete. But I can't see, no one really beats Brisbane at the Gabba. So I don't think they will, but good test for them.
Will be. Yeah, Brisbane.
Geelong versus the Bulldogs down at GMHBA. Who knows what team Geelong's going to roll out for this game, Damo?
I still feel there'll be enough pride on the 22 that run out, and there's going to be enough talent still in it. They're getting a really shell-shocked team, and I reckon there's always been a bit of verbal between these two anyway. So I reckon a few of them will be trying that on, and they might just get inside the heads of the Bulldogs. I'm going to tip an upset, weirdly enough, given it's at the Cattery, the Cats.
Yeah, I still think there's a twist in this round somewhere, so I'm trying to find where the twist is. I think it might be Geelong. Everyone just presumes the Bulldogs will roll out and win. The Cats find a way to get it done.
I think your form's your form, and the Western Bulldogs on the weekend were horrible. So for that reason, I think Geelong maybe, but I'm just going to go with more on the line for the Dogs.
Well, we have to touch on this game because we paid them no respect last week. West Coast versus Adelaide at Optus Stadium.
I'll up it to 110 points this week. They won't fire any bullets. They would have started their off-season plans a week early, the West Coast Eagles.
Yeah.
Adelaide by as far as you can imagine.
They're a 6-goal better team when McGovern plays.
Yes.
So I think they'll get within 5 or 6 goals of Adelaide.
Yeah, Adelaide easily, but
Who are you-
probably 7 or 8 goal win.
Okay, closer to Joey than me.
Yeah.
Port Adelaide versus Richmond, Joey.
Yeah, Port keep rolling. They're building. Their midfield are flying.
Same.
So
Is this Minnie's last game as coach?
I feel it will be. I have felt that for some time. He's in the shortlist, and clearly he's got as good a chance as anyone.
Of that shortlist, who's your just a gut feel favourite?
Adam Uze.
I'm leaning towards Chris Newman for some reason. I think they hold him in really high regard at Richmond and coach his own side, and he's under. I think maybe Chris Newman's my smoky.
Sydney,
But I hope McQualter gets it.
Sydney
Yeah, you would.
versus Melbourne. Huge game. Ramifications for the top 8.
Swans for me. I like, and to your point, Joey, I thought they worked really hard last week against Hawthorn, the Melbourne team, and Sydney got the luck go their way, but they were 44 points up against the Crows. I love their role, and McCartan getting off at the tribunal will swing me and sway me the Swans' way.
bit of a bogey side this has been, Sydney for Melbourne, where 11 of 14 they've beaten them, only 3 of those at the SCG. So they can go anywhere, anytime. I will tip Melbourne, though.
Yeah, I think Melbourne, they find a way just to get it done. Their average losing margin this year is 10 points. Like, even when they lose, they are right in it. I think they just find a way to get it done in a close game.
You never jumped off them either, Joey.
Nah,
I'll give you that.
Stuck
Yep.
with them.
And finally, for the home and away round, Carlton versus GWS at the MCG, or is it at Marvel?
Marvel, 6:10.
Marvel, there you go.
6:10 at Marvel, the traditional time slot. I'm tipping the GWS Giants because, unlike Joey, I jumped off the Blues well and truly a long time ago, and ever since then they've won. So I'm going to tip the GWS in hope that Carlton continue to win.
They'll keep rolling the Blues.
Yep.
10 straight heading into finals. Oh, boy, oh, boy. It's going to be a big... I've got Carlton supporters and friends that are already that nervous. They are already that nervous about the finals. It's not funny, so they'll keep winning.
Yeah, I've got them winning too, and I've been on them all 9 wins
You
to this
have been,
point,
actually.
and
You
you and I
stuck
had a
fat.
debate over it when they beat Gold Coast way back in round 14 or 15 or whatever it was. But no, I'm not going to jump off them now.
So quickly, your certainties and a surprise.
I'll have Gold Coast as my certainty.
I'll have Geelong as my surprise and Port Adelaide as my certainty.
I will take Collingwood as my certainty and St Kilda as my surprise.
And I'll have Sydney, I should say, as my surprise.
Catch every game across round 24 on Triple M and the Listener app, starting with the Friday huddle ahead of Essendon versus Collingwood. Luke Darcy, Mark Howard, Jason Dunstall, Nathan Brown, Damien Barrett, Ash Chua, and Tom Brown. This has been Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. We will be back next week with a bye round special.
Are we?
I think so.
Okay.
Look forward to it.